Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today we're doing more top 20 player rankings, and this is the one that I've been looking forward to. I was going to kind of push it off to like the bottom end of it just because this is my favorite player and I think he's the best player in the league probably. But we'll see. It's Nikola Jokic, and I'm just so excited to watch the highlights and to look at the stats and to make my case for why I like this guy so much, why I think he is just such a revolutionary player in the NBA. So yeah, you just want to hop right into the highlights, Casey?
Yeah, you can go ahead and fire him up. I'm going to tell you that, like, the reason I pushed for us to do him right now was that it's an easy one that we are going to put above everybody else. Like, we know that he gives us that, like, benchmark. Because I do think
Yeah.
he's the best. I don't think there's any question about him. When we start diving into the advanced metrics, you're going to be like, there's just no way he's not. It doesn't look the coolest. You know, he
Right.
doesn't look like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander driving to the basket. He doesn't have a smooth three-point shot like Damian Lillard. You know, he's the best. He is far and away one of the better defenders and rebounders. You could see that on film.
Well, and it's
Um,
almost like whenever we put him up early, it's like he's going to be playing defense against everyone else. You know, like when we put up Joel Embiid and Kevin Durant and all
yeah,
these guys, he's gonna be the benchmark that we're comparing him to. So whenever we're doing all these comparisons after we watch the highlight videos, like the statistical stuff, it's going to illustrate just how dominant he has been and how those guys kind of relate to his dominance, and see if they can top him. I'm open to finding something that proves this idea that he's the best player in the league wrong, but I haven't seen it yet. That's what I'll say about it. Now, the one argument against him is his defense, because like the eye test does not do his defense justice. It really doesn't. Like, he looks like a
he's
pretty
the
poor.
best defensive player. I don't know. Like, I know people don't think that, but to me, I still think he's one of the better defensive players in the league.
I don't know about in the league. I think that's strong. I do think that the analytics do overrate his defense to a certain extent, but he's a weird defender. We'll talk about this a little later, but he does all the things that you don't really care about on defense really, really well. And he does none of the things that you really care about, he's not that great at. But because he's so good at the things that like people generally don't care about, it actually makes him more valuable than you think. And the,
His
dude,
highlights are making me giggle, man, because it just looks like he doesn't even care to be out there. It just looks like, oh, okay, I'll just give it a shot here. Let's see what happens. Oh, it made it. Oh, wow.
well, dude, who there's like this narrative
Look at
around
that. That is just a hideous shot for 99% of players.
and he hits it like 80% of the time. It's crazy.
Yeah, he's like on his Achilles heel.
Yeah, he's the best mid-range shooter I've ever seen outside of maybe Dirk
Ah,
Nowitzki.
that was a pretty nasty looking dunk. Like,
Well, this is what I'm saying, man. Like, there's this narrative in the league that he is not fun to watch. Are you kidding me? Like, this guy is a Harlem Globetrotter who can't jump. Like, that's kind of what. Like, look at that pass.
yeah.
It's
I
unparalleled.
think it's just because there are times, like, I feel like sometimes, and this isn't really a fair comparison because he never had this, but Yao Ming at
Hold
certain
up,
facets
hold
of
up,
his
shut
game
up,
were
shut
not
up,
fun to watch.
shut
Hang
up, shut up. You got to watch this highlight. You got to watch this highlight.
on.
Look at this. Look at this. Boom. Are you kidding
That
me?
was pretty
Are
good.
you
That was
kidding?
pretty good.
Are you kidding
That
me,
was pretty
Casey?
good.
Are you kidding me, bro? Like, how many players in the league make that play? One. There's one
Yeah.
player. Look at
That
that.
one right there was nasty. Those are good passes, man. And you see those happen from big men a lot. And I say when you see them, not a lot, like they happen all the time, but when you see them, they're a big guy usually.
Yeah.
Uh, that pass. I mean, yeah. Well,
He
okay. So
threaded
the
a
thumbnail
needle.
to the right of this video literally was, I think it was the Thinking Basketball Guide. It was like, is Jokic the best passer ever? Like it, and it just was titled "Passing Savant," and the highlights are indicating that there's an argument there.
He.
Hard to say that he's the best passer ever yet.
Yeah. Well, the problem with
at
passing.
the age of 27, like, I don't know.
The problem with defining like who's the best passer ever is it's a categorical thing. It's like, what is passing? Like when you're talking about it, like what do you value in passing? Do you
Is
value
it just at assists, or is it
the accuracy?
the overall possession ends up with a basket, or is it, like you said, the accuracy of the individual throw?
Yeah. The way
and the creativeness.
The way
that's what I think. I think the creativity is part of it.
Yeah. The way that I define best passer.
I just love Ben's reactions. They're like, what is happening here?
You're starting to see why I like this team so much. But one of the way that I define best passer is who, through their passing, who provides more points that their team otherwise wouldn't have got. Like, who provides more easy shots for their team than any other player. And I think when you define it like that, like getting easy shots for your teammates, I think that it's really hard to argue against Nikola Jokic, because are you going to argue that John Stockton just like kind of pitching it down low so that Karl Malone could shoot a contested mid-range jump shot and hit it, like that makes him the greatest passer of all time because he had 16 assists a season? Like that, I don't know about that. Now, the one guy that I will say I think at least competes with Jokic for best passer ever is Magic Johnson. I think Magic Johnson probably exceeds Jokic. But I think it's clear he's the best passing big man ever. And I think at worst he's in like the top 5. You know, like maybe you could make an argument for Stockton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you
Steve
definitely
Nash.
had him as one of the best.
Yeah.
Nash was the name I was thinking of that you hadn't mentioned yet. I was like, yeah.
Jason Kidd.
It's in their era. Yeah, Kidd was pretty good.
LeBron even. LeBron's a great passer. But to me, LeBron's
I mean, Chris
passing,
Paul is the State Farm assist man, so like he even has some merit. Probably not as one of the best ever, but as a really great passer.
Yeah, to me, LeBron's passing. Yeah, Chris Paul is for sure another name. To me, LeBron's passing is more of born out of just like his physical freakiness. It just opens up so many wide open shots that I think his passes may be a little easier than like Jokic's or Magic Johnson's were, just because they aren't the scorer, like the volume scorer that LeBron was.
He's not supposed to make these shots.
No.
And I'm not even meaning because they're contested. I mean like the way his body looks as he goes. Like they're not
pretty. They're not
fundamentally sound. It feels like that's not a fair thing, because it's hard to say that the best player in the NBA is not fundamentally sound. He is. It's just like it doesn't look like it's fundamentally sound.
Right. And that's the weird thing is it looks like that any other person with Jokic's level of athleticism that tried to use shots like that and
they're playing at the YMCA.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're not playing in the NBA.
Exactly. Yeah. The one thing that I think the one thing that draws Jokic down though, from the reason people are so reluctant to say he's the best player in the league though, is because of that defense. But you do have to ask the question. I mean, it's like 3 years running now, or 3 out of the last 4 years running now, where the metrics love his defense. Like they really do. Like, and it's very strange. I'm right there with you.
Name a really great defender in the NBA. I'm not saying there's not like defenders that are better than others, but in general, you've said it and I know it too, that like scoring is highly valuable in the NBA. So it's about, is your defense enough that your scoring outweighs it? Not, are you like a juggernaut on defense in the same manner as other sports?
Well, this is why a lot of people will bring up guys like Giannis and guys like Joel Embiid, because they are so elite defensively. Like they are phenomenal defenders, and they do all the things that people tend to care about. Whether those things are the most valuable parts of defending, maybe there's a question there. Is rim protection as valuable as people seem to believe it is? Because that's something that Jokic is not great at. And it's kind of by design too, because he doesn't want to get into foul trouble and take away from his offense. You know, he doesn't want to have to come off the floor and only play 25 minutes a game. That's I think that's kind of the theory behind it, because there are some plays where he just doesn't even try to contest a shot at the rim. And I think it's kind of by design. But the things that he does really well, he avoids fouls. So teams get 6 fewer free throws per 100 possessions when Jokic is on the floor. I think that's a very underrated aspect to his defense. he has extremely active hands, so he gets a lot of steals. He's actually like pretty consistently towards the top of the NBA in steals every year. He's one of the best defensive rebounders in the NBA. That's a valuable asset. So he does a lot of these little things really well, and I think the total picture, it makes up for a lot of his deficiencies, and that's why the metrics like him so much, you know. But these highlights,
I loved that 2-on-1 they just ran.
I am convinced that anyone that says Nikola Jokic is boring has never watched a 1 second of Nikola Jokic playing. I'm convinced by it, because to me
he's just not as emotionally. He doesn't broadcast. It doesn't seem like his thoughts and his emotions the same way that I think a lot of like superstars do.
Yeah,
he looked exhausted there. You know, he's not exhausted, but he's like,
yeah,
he's not gassed.
And he's also not gonna throw. He's not gonna throw it off the backboard, catch it, and do a 360 East Bay and stick his elbow. Yeah, he's not gonna do that. So if that's what you're into, yeah, maybe Nikola Jokic isn't for you. But man, that doesn't mean he doesn't have a bag, because he definitely has a bag, man.
All right, look, I'm gonna run through some stats that I compiled for you, give you a quick break. So his true shooting percentages on the list of guys we're gonna look at, and I know that the Nuggets just picked up Thomas Bryant, who leads the league in true shooting percentage and is also a center, but Nikola Jokic is 70.6%. You and I know that he's a favorite to put up a triple-double any day of the week now on every site you can find those odds. His three-point percentage is very good for a big man. His right now for the season, he's averaging 24.7 points per game, which is lower than I expected. Is that still? I feel like I might have put the wrong number in. His player efficiency rating is 32.2. I think that leads the league.
That would be second 20% all time behind Nikola Jokic.
Yeah,
32.
That's insane.
Yeah.
His rebound percentage is freakishly high. The only player who's even close is Anthony Davis. But his win share per 48, and even if you don't like this metric, this is the one
I love
for me.
metric.
This and box plus minus, but it's so far higher than second place.
I know,
That's
dude.
What makes it like you'd have to be insane, or you'd have to have some belief in like Embiid or Davis that like maybe for some reason they've been underperforming, and you're going to see something happen in the back half of the season here. But I don't think you will. So as far as like who is the most impactful player in the league today, or where do they sit in the top 20? He's number one for me. Mm-hmm. I'm just 100% on that. There's a trade deadline video you and I put together, and I don't know if we said it in that video, but I'll say it here. Every trade was made with Jokic in mind. Every team is trying to figure out how do they defeat Jokic, and it seems like some teams in the Eastern Conference are sitting there thinking, let's get better for when Jokic isn't who Jokic is. Yeah. Like, screw the next 2-3 years, because we're not going to beat him in the finals anyway. So why worry about winning the East?
Either him or the Celtics, right? So
yeah. It's like why fight that hard?
Yeah. Now I will. There was one stat in there that I just kind of want to put into context, and that is the true shooting percentage. He doesn't lead the league in true shooting, but he leads the league among players that are scoring more than 20 points. So among volume scorers, he is far and away the most efficient. And not only is he the most efficient this year, I think he's 0.3 of a point away from 25 points a game. If he can get that back up to 25 points a game, which I think he will by the end of the year, and he maintains the true shooting percentage that he currently has right now, that would be the highest true shooting percentage ever for a player that averages 25 points or more a game, ever. So that to me, that is the thing that really separates Jokic from everybody else. The passing is phenomenal. The rebounding is great. Defense, probably a little underrated, but very good. But the thing that separates him is his scoring efficiency. He's a high volume scorer, maybe not as high volume as a guy like Joel Embiid or a guy like Luka Doncic, but he's still a high volume scorer. And he does it on fewer shots than anybody we've ever seen, ever. And when he's not taking those shots, he is getting wide open shots for his teammates. That is why he has like figured out a way to play the game in the NBA that seems like kind of obvious and not like super hard to do. But if that's the case, why hasn't anyone ever done this? Anyone? Like even Wilt, if you correct for pace and look for per 100 possessions, Nikola Jokic's stats are right on par with Wilt Chamberlain's for the most part, because Wilt was playing at such a more rapid pace back in the day. But this is the one stat that I kind of want to wrap up with and kind of sell you and everybody else on why I think Nikola Jokic is the best player in the NBA.
I'm sold, baby.
And this isn't a perfect stat. This stat does involve, like, you know, who you're playing with, rotations and things like that. But I want you to look at his at his on-offs, his point differentials when he is on the court. He is the Denver Nuggets are 26.2 points better overall whenever Nikola Jokic is on the court. They're 18.9 points better on offense, and they are defensively. Can I scroll over any? Well, I thought I could, but okay, I guess I can't. But they're whatever the difference is, like 7.3 points better on defense whenever he's on the floor. The closest non-Nugget player with over 1,000 minutes this year is Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard, the Clippers are 13.7 points better when he's on the floor. So Nikola Jokic is literally twice as good, or his team has been twice as good as the next best player's team down has been whenever he's on the court. So I'm talking about like big superstar players. And if you know how to kind of sort this in your mind, because you filter out Aaron Gordon and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, guys like that, because
they benefit from being on the court in the same rotation with Jokic. Yeah.
Exactly. And you filter out all those guys and you look at the big names, right? Kawhi Leonard, Joel Embiid, LeBron James, Paul George, Jaren Jackson. They're all kind of grouped up together, right? Like most like top players are going to be between maybe like 7 points and 14 points. Last year, Jokic, like what people were saying was one of the best years ever. Jokic was at like 19.5, plus 19.5 points. It is mind-boggling. 26.2 points is like astronomical. Like it doesn't even make sense that a team is 26 points better per 100 possessions when a player is on the court. That is a level of dominance that has never been seen in the NBA. Not even by guys like Michael Jordan. Not even by guys like LeBron James. You can say it's a system. You can say it's his teammates. You could say whatever you want. But
it's never happened before.
The one variable throughout all of this has been Nikola Jokic, and that for me is why he's the best player in the NBA. But we got a lot of more players to talk about in this series, and we will talk about them. We will match them up against Nikola Jokic. We'll see how they fare out, and maybe we get convinced that I doubt it, but maybe we do.
I tend to like watching guards play more than big men, just so they're guys that I probably will say are my favorite. Like, I think Damian Lillard's one of my favorite players to watch play basketball.
Yeah.
But it's like there's a lot of variables in that. But he's not as good as or as important as valuable as
Jokic.
Worth building a team around as Nikola Jokic. Like, this is the guy you want. If something happened, if for some reason he was a free agent and the Spurs had to give everything they had to get Jokic, I'd be like, oh, bet.
Yeah.
5 years from now, I wouldn't say that, but like, go get him. And then just go to the YMCA and get 10 other dudes to come play basketball with him. And
the common refrain from a lot of anti-Jokic people is that these advanced stats are extremely flawed. And sure, like maybe I'll grant you that these advanced stats, many of them are flawed. But the way that he is leading these stats, like he is leading by gaps that can't be explained away by just like, oh, the stat doesn't take this into account or something like that. The gap is too big. The gap between...
I will say all of those people will be ended if they win the finals this year. I think that at that point, everybody would have to admit and he like wins the Finals
Yeah.
MVP. I think that would end it officially for probably the next segment of people. There's still going to be people out there who are like, nah.
There is
But
not a player in the NBA who has higher stakes to win a championship this year than Nikola Jokic. Everything about his legacy rides on this year and next year because everybody is going to be back. Bruce Brown's kind of up in the air, but like this team is what it is, you know. And now we have Thomas Bryant, so that helps too. But this team is what it is, and it's all riding on these next couple of years. And if he can pull it off and win a championship, I think that he has to be vaulted into like some pretty lofty territory. I don't want to say like top 5, top 10, top 20 player ball. I don't want to do that, but
you got to see him play till he's 35, 38, 40 years old.
He's still just
to get into that territory.
He's still just 27 years old.
He's at the point now where like I felt like maybe this isn't a fair comparison, but it's the only other guy I could think of who was young when we all started to talk about him was like Andrew Luck. Just kind of out of nowhere retired. I don't see that happening with Jokic and in the NBA in general.
Yeah.
But like, if for some reason he couldn't keep playing, you would have that where like he could have been the best ever.
Yeah. Instead of,
because I thought Luck could have been one of the best.
Well, another one, Andrew Jones. That's another one that
Andrew Jones
that fell off a table way too early. You know. But
well,
yeah,
he actually kept playing. But yeah, he did fall off a bit. So you're like, well,
yeah. But okay, I think that's it. We don't want this video to be too long. Tell us what you think in the comments. This video might
tell us who you think actually deserves to be compared for the number 1 spot. Because I think it's a race for number 2 for everybody else. I think there's a big cluster there in the 2 to 5 range.
Jokic videos tend to do kind of well on YouTube, so I'm expecting maybe we get like slightly more views for this one. I don't know, but if you did watch, tell us what you think. Do you think we're crazy? Do you think that the advanced stats are super wrong, like way super wrong, like they would have to be? Do you think that, Joel Embiid is better, Giannis is better, whoever? Let us know in the comments. Tell us how stupid we are or how smart we are. And we'll see you guys later.
I don't expect many of those.
Peace.